In the history of space explorations, few stories are as compelling as that of SpaceX. Born from the vision of Elon Musk to reduce space transportation's cost and enable the colonization of Mars, SpaceX Journeys is marked by audacious goals, relentless innovation, and groundbreaking achievements. So let's check out this underdog story, and let's dive right in. It all started way back in 2002 when Elon started his little scrappy company with only 8 other people. Today, SpaceX has over 13,000 employees. But Elon Musk was not just a rich guy that owned a rocket company. He actually became SpaceX Chief Technology Officer because no one else wanted to come work for him, so he taught himself. When Elon Musk saw that NASA didn't even have a plan to go to Mars, he wanted to help NASA by making people excited about space again, by flying a little greenhouse to Mars. So he went to Russia 3 times to try to buy a rocket. But they pretty much just laughed at him, and the price for the rocket was just too expensive. But then Elon calculated the actual cost of all the materials that are in a rocket and found out that it was not the materials that was so expensive, and therefore decided to build the rocket himself, and therefore started SpaceX back in 2002, even though everyone thought it was crazy and told him he would just lose all his money. And friends and family of course tried to talk him out of it.
I had so many people try to talk me out of starting a rocket company. It was crazy.
What did they tell you?
One good friend of mine collected a whole series of videos of rockets blowing up and made me watch those. He just didn't want me to lose all my money.
And everyone was pretty much against it. Even the old American heroes that were part of history themselves fought against Elon's private rocket company.
Now is the time to overrule this administration's pledge to mediocrity.
You know, there are American heroes who don't like this idea. Neil Armstrong, Gene Cernan have both testified against commercial spaceflight in the way that you're developing it, and I wonder what you think of that.
I was very sad to see that, because those guys are, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough. I wish they would come and visit and see the hardware that we're doing here, and I think that would change their mind.
They inspired you to do this, didn't they?
Yes.
And to see them casting stones in your direction.
It's difficult.
But at the end of 2008, it looked like everyone was going to be right, as both Elon Musk's 2 companies, SpaceX and Tesla, were on the verge of bankruptcy. SpaceX had 3 failed rocket launches with the Falcon 1 rocket, and Elon Musk was out of money.
Running on fumes at that point, we had virtually no money.
So a fourth failure...
A fourth failure would have been absolutely game over.
Done.
Done.
SpaceX, bankrupt.
Yeah, it's bad enough to have 3 strikes. Having 4 strikes, it's kaput.
But Flight 4 was flawless. In Musk's world, it lit the darkness. Then, as often, the week of Christmas became a time when little boy dreams are answered.
NASA called and told us that we'd won a $1.5 billion contract. And I couldn't even hold the phone. It's like, I just blurted out, I love you guys.
They saved you.
Yeah, they did.
Financially and maybe even emotionally.
I'll tell you what, that was definitely helpful. Yeah.
2 days later, on Christmas Eve, Tesla's investors decided to pour in more money.
So you were saved in the period of 3 days.
Yeah.
By 2 completely unexpected events.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Falcon 1 became the first privately funded liquid fuel rocket to reach orbit, making a pivotal moment not just for SpaceX, but for commercial spaceflight. And SpaceX won a $1.5 billion contract with NASA. So SpaceX was pretty much saved on the last day possible by NASA. And Elon Musk should now prove that SpaceX has learned how to make rockets fly and get them into orbit. But SpaceX wanted to do a little more than that, because Elon was determined to make space travel affordable. And to do that, he needed to make rockets reusable. Again, people said that was impossible. But then SpaceX started to have these small rockets jumping around in their backyard, doing something that just seemed unreal. And in 2014, SpaceX made an autonomous drone ship where the rocket was supposed to land after have been to space, on a little square in the middle of the ocean. It all just seemed impossible, and the first couple of tries did end up in explosions. But all that hard work led to an historic day on December 21st, 2015, where SpaceX did the impossible. They launched the Falcon 9 rocket that flew 100 kilometers up to the edge of space, sent a satellite on its way, and then the booster flew back to the launch site and landed back down. It was a major moment for SpaceX and will forever be a major moment in the history of spaceflight.
It's standing up. It's standing up. When we started coming in, it sounded like an explosion. Yeah, man. Oh my God. Now look at this. Look at it. Look at it. It's just sitting there. Look at that. What? Holy smokes, man.
But they still needed to stick the landing at sea. But on the 8th of April 2016, SpaceX did it. After another mission to the International Space Station, the rocket booster came back to Earth, and this time stuck the landing on the drone ship. And SpaceX made history once again. And this rocket would make history once more because it became the first ever reflown orbital rocket. And the Falcon 9 rocket has become SpaceX's workhorse and has landed 492 times now. But SpaceX achieved another milestone with the Dragon spacecraft, as they became the first commercial company to send a spacecraft to the International Space Station and returning it safely to Earth. In the history of spaceflight, only 4 entities have launched a space capsule into orbit and successfully brought it back to Earth: the United States, Russia, China, and Elon Musk's little private company, SpaceX. Reusability of the SpaceX rocket has changed the game completely. The concept of reusable rockets, once science fiction, became SpaceX's hallmark and a step toward dramatically reducing the cost of space travel, a cost that no other company has yet achieved, and that is why SpaceX in 2024 deliver about 90% of all cargo to space. SpaceX have made so huge innovations and step changes in technology that they kind of ended up with an unattended monopoly for sending cargo to space, as they are much better and cheaper than anyone else, because they are also the most integrated rocket company on the planet, as they almost build everything themselves.
So what that means is raw metal comes in, and then we build the engines, the airframe, the electronics, and we integrate all of that together, and that's all done more or less under one roof.
Metal comes in one end of this factory.
Yeah.
Spaceships come out the other.
Yes.
and showed the world that reusable rocket was not just possible, but they were already doing it. And not only rockets. Their Dragon crew capsule was also reusable, and in 2017 they flew a reused Dragon capsule to the ISS that had been up there before. It was the first spacecraft to visit ISS a second time since the shuttle Atlantis in 2011, and also the first spacecraft with an emergency escape system. And here, almost a decade after SpaceX did their first landing, showing it was actually possible, we still have no other rocket company sending cargo to space and returning to Earth with their boosters. But SpaceX really got the whole world's attention in February 2018. When they launched their Falcon Heavy for the first time, it was the biggest rocket in use in the world. And then the magical moment happened when the two side boosters came back down and landed simultaneously. This was truly a mind-blowing sight, and suddenly the whole world seemed to be following SpaceX. But SpaceX has also taken the most demanding and scary task of them all, making the first crewed mission, sending humans to orbit. The dream of sending humans to space on a SpaceX rocket became a reality with the Crew Dragon's first operational flight, Crew 1, in 2020. This mission not only transported the astronaut to the International Space Station, but also marked the beginning of regular crewed mission by SpaceX. This was the first time in 11 years the US had been able to send their astronauts to space from American soil. But SpaceX had even bigger ambitions, because no matter how good the little reusable Falcon 9 booster was, it was just too little to get us to Mars. So SpaceX started working on Starship, aiming for the stars. Starships designed for interplanetary travel represent SpaceX's most ambitious project yet. Despite numerous test flights, the Starship is not yet fully successful. We did get a very successful test flight of the Starship where the Starship went to orbit and soft landed back in the Indian Ocean. But SpaceX also demonstrated the impossible was possible by catching the Heavy booster out of midair with their Godzilla tower.
We can see those chopsticks
getting us one step closer to that rapid reusable spaceship, getting us one step closer to getting to Mars, and getting us back to the moon, as this is the rocket that won the contract from NASA to get humans back to the moon with NASA's Artemis program. But SpaceX is also running their own missions, like the Polaris Dawn mission, starting a whole new frontier. On September the 12th, 2024, SpaceX, in collaboration with Jared Isaacman's Polaris program, achieved what was once a domain of government space agencies, the first private spacewalk. This mission aboard SpaceX Crew Dragon not only performed a spacewalk, but also ventured into the Van Allen radius belt, making the furthest human had traveled from Earth since the Apollo missions over 50 years ago. SpaceX is innovating so fast that they have become the all-dominating force in the rocket industry, because SpaceX has become the cheapest ticket to orbit. So it seems like Elon ended up being right with his prediction back from 2012 that SpaceX would be the company to do this. And SpaceX Journey, from the first Falcon 1 rocket to the historic Polaris Dawn spacewalk to the mighty Starship, encapsulates a narrative of innovation, failure and triumph. Each milestone, from the dramatic launch of the Falcon 9 to the serene spacewalk of Polaris Dawn, not only pushes the boundaries of what is possible in space, but also inspires a new generation to look up and dream of the stars. But the most crazy thing is, SpaceX has only just begun, and is working with a sense of urgency towards the dream of Mars colonization that suddenly seems less like science fiction and more like an achievable future, thanks to the relentless spirit of exploration embodied by Elon Musk and the SpaceX team. And today, Elon has no problem getting people to work for SpaceX, as every new engineer in the US want to go to work for SpaceX. And it's not hard to understand why.
You know, I'm curious, you have so much background in engineering. You could have easily gotten a job at Boeing or at Lockheed, but you came here.
If you had a chance to go back in time and work with Howard Hughes when he was creating TWA, if you had a chance to be there at that moment when it was the dawn of a brand new era, wouldn't you want to do that? I mean, that's why I'm here.
And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.